Took me a while to find the birthday for this guy, Matt Gaetz' partner in crime, or maybe it's the other way around. But either way, the news media has been saying this week that the reason Gaetz came to the attention of Trump's Justice Department in the summer of 2020 is because in the midst of finding and chasing down Greenberg, they discovered he was crime friends with Gaetz. Greenberg has posted at least 2 selfies on Twitter with Gaetz, and in this image, you see the 2 of them as well as Roger Stone. You know, the 3 Musketeers. A decidedly benevolent trio working tirelessly for the benefit of all human beings. Either that, or flashing big smiles because they've figured out another dirty trick to inflict upon someone somewhere. They say the company you keep tells you all about someone's character. Put Roger Stone in the scene, and it pretty much answers all your questions in that regard. In any case, as reported in my previous video, Joel Greenberg is facing 33 criminal counts that could put him behind bars for a long time, and the astrological question becomes, is there a connection to Gaetz? Isn't it curious to see that just like Matt Gaetz, he has significant planetary action in the middle of fixed signs, with the Sun at 15 degrees Aquarius, and a Saturn-Mars conjunction in the middle of Scorpio directly squaring it. And like Gaetz, he has transiting Saturn and Uranus paying him a visit during 2021 and 2022. Now, without a birth time, we would look to Mercury as one of the possible attractors of misfortune, since he was caught in 2020 when transiting Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto went through those degrees. The other reason this overly ambitious tax collector was trapped in a spiderweb of his own making is Eris, the planet of the warrior goddess, that can show up at the most inopportune moment to remind you of your current and past deeds involving the demeaning of members of the opposite sex. Note that at birth, it's square Venus, the perfect setup for a knock on the door of karmic retribution when the transits later line up against you. And when is that? Well, let's just say that since the fateful days of Trump's election in 2016, the very slow transiting Eris has been hitting on that Mercury, first inclining him to misbehave, and then coming back to collect the dues. And it continues to still square this Mercury right through the end of 2022. And as for misbehavior, demeaning, and possibly illegal, his sleazeball pal Matt just hit the headlines again, as it is now revealed he was bragging about his conquests to his Congress pals, including showing them nude pictures. In other words, the man is a class act. But what is most significant and most troubling for Gaetz is that his Sun wires directly into Greenberg's main square and therefore links it to the harsh energies of Saturn and Mars, which is easily one of the worst chart-to-chart alignments in a situation like this, because it signals the Saturn-Mars person might just really hurt you. When? Well, now or soon, because the configuration is being activated by Saturn and Uranus for both men at the same time, 2021 and 2022. Why? Well, because prosecutors have a habit of offering lowered sentences to the relative small fish in order to get the big fish, and in this case, they are Greenberg and Gaetz, respectively. Listen to former federal prosecutor Paul Butler explain it tonight on MSNBC.
But Gaetz really has to be worried about this third investigation of Joel Greenberg. That's the Florida official and good friend of Gaetz, who's already been indicted for child sex trafficking. And the reason Greenberg is a problem for Gaetz is because he's violated his bail. So he's locked up in jail in Florida pending his trial. He's got a lot of incentive to cooperate in an investigation of Gaetz. The feds have already probably come calling to Mr. Greenberg in his Florida jail cell to see what he knows about Gaetz and if he wants to make a deal.
Well then, too bad for Joel and too bad for Matt. If only they could find a way to implicate Roger so that we could put all 3 behind bars where they belong.